You never know where your path will take you. Nilufer and Saira Rahman never expected to find themselves on the path towards films. Creating their first documentary, Arctic Mosque, the two Canadian women of Muslim and Bengali heritage have made short films, documentaries, and a wide variety of videos through their production company, Snow Angel Films. Let's get into it.
So my name is Saira Rahman, and I didn't really actually start off in film earlier in my life. I started off as a teacher, and I was doing that for a while. And even at one point, I was a principal of a new school in Ontario, which was a very interesting experience, sharp learning curve there for me. I decided at that point I didn't really like the profession. So I came home, and sort of around the same time, I had worked with two producer friends that were creating a documentary called A New Life in a New Land. And it was about the Muslim experience in Canada. So it was a documentary that they wanted to do, which ended up being a 3-part series. And it was released on Vision TV. Across Canada. And we took the film to Southeast Asia through a program by DFATE, or the International Trade
Department of Foreign Affairs or something like that.
Department of Foreign Affairs, yeah, exactly. It was very well received there. And I kind of, from that situation, like, I didn't know anything about filmmaking, and that was my entrance into that world, and I just kind of really fell in love with it, and I thought, wow, I'd really like to do more of this. So that's kind of my story in a nutshell. And then I'll let Nilufer talk, and then we'll carry on together from there, because we merge after a point in time and start working together.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was on more of an academic path out after high school. In university, I studied history, and I did a master's in history, and I was thinking I would do a PhD and kind of go that route. But I realized pretty quickly into my master's that I wasn't very good I didn't have the attention span, let's put it that way, for all the reading and writing that was required. And although I loved it, like I loved, doing deep dives into these the themes and issues I was studying, sort of British colonial India, and our family background is we're Bengali, we're from present day Bangladesh, and so I was really keen on learning more about my roots too, and our history. And so that seemed like a good way to go. But I felt like all the themes that I was engaging with in terms of colonialism, all of that stuff, I wanted to sort of engage with things in a different way, not necessarily through academia. And as a family, even, we grew up really, my parents they loved art, they loved music and film, and we kind of responded to that very much as kids. Like, we would watch old movies, like old Hindi movies, or listen to music and, get intrigued by that. And just kind of understanding that art really has an important role to play in our lives. And it sort of infuses a deeper meaning that goes beyond actual communication with words. There's a sort of emotional connection you can create through art. And so I think, I felt like I just wanted to explore that more. And that's where I sort of veered away from academia and initially moved into photography. And then at the time when I was taking photography, DSLR cameras started coming out where you could do video as well. So I would be playing around with that and discovered that I actually really like the video more than just taking photos. And so, Saira was also going on her journey. And as she said, we kind of realized that, well, why don't we just take this seriously and try and do something? So that's when we started Snow Angel Films, I guess. Yeah.
I was just going to say, you both were going along these paths different places in life and found this intersection that ended up being film. So that's such an exciting thing.
So when we kind of realized that, so I had to come back from this job in Ontario as a principal, and Nilufer had just finished photography school. And then we were thinking, okay, we don't know too much about filmmaking. Let's maybe go to film school. Should we do that? And then we were checking out different film schools, and people were saying to us that, yeah, you can go to film school if you want. That's fine. But you don't really have to. There's a lot you can learn on your own. And you learn the most when you're actually making a film. So we thought we didn't want to, and we had a budget, so we couldn't really go to, a long-term film school. So we did find Langara College in Vancouver had a short program, short but intense. It was 4 months. And so we learned everything. Like we learned producing, writing, directing, editing, camera work, grip work, like everything.
Well, it's good to be well-rounded in those areas.
Oh yeah. And to know at least what you like doing and what you're kind of have a knack for and what you'd rather, someone else do. So that was a very good kind of exposure. And we met some people that we later worked with. And then we came back home, and for almost a year, we were trying to get our short films out into festivals and trying to think of next steps. And before the year was out, we got wind of this unusual story that was unfolding. It was about a mosque that was being built here in Winnipeg, and that was going to be shipped up to the Arctic. So this is in Nunavik, Northwest Territories. And the obvious question that everybody asked was like, how many Muslims are up there? Why do they need a mosque up there? And so we asked the same question. And so the guy who was sort of in charge of this project, Hussein Guisti, very interesting personality. He's just, and such a generous spirit. So kind of became his thing to find mosques and for these northern Muslims. He built one in Iqaluit and Yellowknife and of course Inuvik. So we thought, this is a really interesting story, and we have a Muslim background. We grew up in a small mosque here in Winnipeg. This would be great. This would be a great story for us to do. And we asked him, okay, so Hussein, this was in September, and we said, Hussein, okay, so we're really interested in this. When is the mosque leaving? When is it going to be done? Where is it? And he said, in a few days.
Lights
what?
The fire, right? You're like, okay, yeah. I guess let's get this thing done then.
Oh my God. Yeah, exactly. So that was like the turning point, and we had to really decide. I mean, we've been told after the fact that a lot of beginning filmmakers, they do this, they finance their first film by themselves. And it's a huge no-no because you end up literally paying for it for a long time down the road. So, but we thought, we trusted the story. The story felt so unique. Like it was just such a bizarre story.
It feels like something out of a story in itself, right?
Yeah.
Building a mosque here in Winnipeg and then shipping it all the way up north. And as you're mentioning, it's like, wait, yeah, what is the population of Muslims up in the northern parts of Canada? So it's almost fantastical, but I think that's what makes it more exciting because it is real. Yeah,
exactly. So this is the whole attraction of documentary filmmaking, that it's real. These are real stories. But they can be so, like you said, fantastical at the same time. Like you just can't believe that this is happening and this is real. And we met so many interesting people on the way there and in Inuvik. And we kept in touch with a few of them afterwards. To this day, we still keep in touch. And that was like over 10 years ago. So that was our flagship film. And after that, we kind of like Neil said, we established Snow Angel Films, and we thought, okay, let's just keep going. We didn't have a business plan, or we didn't say, okay, we want to make so many films in 1 year and, just make these kind of films. We were just starting out, and it was an exciting time, but it was also a time, I think you could say it was our film school, because we shot Arctic Mosque. It took us about 5-6 weeks to shoot it. We had all this footage that we didn't know what to do with. We didn't know how to possibly form this film and make it look like something. Who's going to watch it? Like, we don't have any buyers. We didn't approach anyone, any broadcasters. So we, at that point, were kind of going backwards and trying to figure out, okay, how do you produce a film? And we got a huge mentorship from Joanne Levy, who was at Buffalo Gal Pictures. It's owned and operated by Phyllis Lang. And just a really great company that we're so fortunate to have here in Manitoba. And we worked with them, and they really helped us navigate, how to take this film, all this footage, edit it, find someone to, and the person that edited it was a person that our classmate from Langara College, which was nice. So he did a great job, and we approached, with Buffalo Gal's help, we approached CBC, Manitoba. So we had it on Absolutely Manitoba, and then we had it on Absolutely Canadian. It was chosen for that, for across Canada. And we went to APTN as well. It was also nationally broadcast on APTN. So it was really exciting for us, for that, all of that to happen with our first film.
So Snow Angel Films was really created in the trenches while you're just going through trying to figure out, okay, what's next? What's the next step? And I mean, hey, it seems to be working out that you've been able to create this story. You got a little bit of education, but then, you went on the road to start building a dream.
It's true. Like we didn't really have, it's interesting because we didn't really have a roadmap per se. Even at that point, filmmaking wasn't, like, people kept asking us, oh, you're in filmmaking? Do you get a lot of money for that? I'm like, how do you make a living off that? And I think me and Nil were thinking, well, this is just something we really enjoy doing. It's not, we didn't really mean for it to be a career as such. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but it wasn't meant to be an income generating sort of.
You're not thinking about it for the money. You're thinking about it for the story.
Yeah. And I think that's why, even after all these years, like it's always been kind of a struggle to build it as a business. Like some people in some companies they're a lot more savvy when it comes to, okay, we're going to build a film company and we're going to churn out films and this and that. For us, it was so much about just telling stories, and not that it isn't for other people too, but, it was hard to navigate, even to this day, I find it difficult because you want to focus so much on the creative part, but you realize that it's so much more than just the creative if you want to go from A to Z in making a film. So, and then even after you make a film, you have to figure out, well, how do you get it out there into the world? So it is tricky, but yeah, like Arctic Mosque was kind of our way into the world of documentary. When we did our program at Langara College, it was actually for drama. There was a documentary stream, but we took the drama stream because we were more interested in that. And we ended up, spending many years doing documentary style work. And we've done a lot of sort of projects for local grassroots community organizations, promotional videos, things like that. So there's that type of work you can do where you're telling stories for people who are actually working, in the grassroots. That's a type of work. And then there's also make films, like, developing either a documentary film or a fiction, a drama or a comedy. There's different kinds of things you could do. And so after all these years, we're kind of trying to make a transition now into drama. I mean, I guess that's another topic, but we're sort of trying to figure out how to develop a drama series um, and navigating that. So that's kind of our current project. It's sort of in development.
Okay, well, that sounds really exciting, and I'm really anticipating for when more details on that will come out in the future. You're talking about the different avenues and the different areas that you focus on, like with grassroots documentaries. Now you're wanting to explore drama a little bit more. How do you figure out the stories you want to tell, whether it is a short doc, a full documentary, public service ads? Like, let's go through the list. I mean, first you had Arctic Mosque, a story that you heard about, and you're like, okay, well, we can't not tell this story, right? What is it? My Song Expressions Through Hip Hop, a short documentary, Letter to a Terrorist, a social impact viral video, Be My Voice, and then In Allah's Hands. So you've got this wide variety of different content that you're creating. How do you approach figuring out what sort of stories you want to tell?
Yeah, like those were some of the ones we did right after Arctic Moss, some of the earlier ones. And I think, Saira and I were talking about this earlier, how a lot of times the stories, for us, obviously, we've been drawn to stories that relate to our experiences. Growing up Muslim in Winnipeg in Canada has been a very particular experience that through our eyes, we wanted to be able to share our perspectives. And sometimes it's difficult when, you're from a community that people kind of have myths about, there are
biases and stuff,
stereotypes and myths and that kind of thing about Muslims, about Islam, about, the communities. And so when, as artists, when you're creating films or art, sometimes in response to those, it can be very limiting and that's sometimes the reality. Like, you're so frustrated by, all of these, stereotypes out there. And that's just not, that's not how I feel. That's not a full representation of our realities. Right. And so in response to that, we want to tell stories. But sometimes if you tailor your stories too much to just respond to those things, then that's not good either. Right. Because then you're still not telling the fullness of your experience, and you're not necessarily able to be as authentic as you want to be because you're trying to paint a positive picture in response to the negative picture. I think now, like over the years, we've come to have the opportunity to spend more time with different organizations, people who maybe work with newcomers or not necessarily just Muslims, but like a diversity of, ethnocultural backgrounds and just, getting stories about what they're doing as organizations. For example, that when you mentioned Earcom, that was a really nice film that we were able to do. It was basically just showing the experience of some youth who were going through a spring break program, learning about how to write their own music, how to write raps and how to hip hop dance and how to express themselves. And we were just really capturing the kids' voices. We see ourselves as not just telling our own stories, really. I mean, it's more amplifying the voices of people who, are important to us, who we want to shine a light on, because we feel blessed to have been given the opportunity to be doing this work. And so we want to be able to create a platform for as many people as possible to express their stories.
How do we continue to create a space where these diverse voices can be celebrated, can be seen in film and other series? I mean, we're starting to see, maybe a renaissance is the right word, of diverse voices, of just a wide variety of people, whether it's individuals, like if you're like someone who's a visible minority, someone's like sexual identity. We're seeing other stories being told. So how do we continue to foster an environment where these stories can thrive and grow in the future so that it's just not the same sort of stories being told over and over and over again? Because here in Canada, we have such a wide variety of people and experiences that we can, take those stories from.
I think personally, it's been important for me to watch and listen to stories, to be exposed to different stories. And I'll watch, programs that I'll tell myself that, this is a story about this person who is very different from me. And I wouldn't normally, I don't know, maybe if I met this person, in real life, would I connect with them? I don't know. But I purposefully force myself, I guess, to watch them and to watch the show and to get to know them on the show. And I think that's really an important step towards what we really want to get out of these stories is to connect people, right? That's one of the main things that we'd like to do, to connect people that wouldn't normally, kind of hang out together. Like take for example, Little Mosque on the Prairie. Our friend Zarka Nawaz is the creator, and she, at a point in time when Muslims were not known much at all by the general public, she kind of very, through this show, she put Muslims in people's living rooms. So they were comfortably, comfortably watching these people on screen and learning about them, and that's what I hope, to continue as well. So I think that's really important, to expose yourself first. And then through social media, encourage people who are doing that, who are telling their story. Comment and be encouraging with your comment and give feedback, because we want our stories to be heard. So let's see who's listening to them, who's watching them. We want your feedback.
You heard it here, folks. Go to your local film festivals and see what's being created in your communities. Like even here in Manitoba, there are so many amazing film festivals. I know in May, the Fascination Film Festival is coming up. There's such a wide array of stories being told just here on the prairies.
Exactly. Yeah.
You've gone through fire and the battlefield to figure out how to make this work, telling these amazing stories that need to be heard. And as you're mentioning, a drama series potentially in the future. I guess what's next for Snow Angel Films?
I think just focusing on that particular project in the near future. We're already working on it, but there are other narrative stories that we would like to tell. One of them is, I guess you could say, our dream project. It's basically about the childhood stories of our father and our mother. We grew up, our dad was a master storyteller. So he would tell us so many stories, real stories about his life, his struggle growing up in present day Bangladesh, struggling to survive first. He kind of has a rags to riches sort of story. But he really, at the age of, I think it was 13, in his early teens, he wanted to become a doctor. And it seemed like an impossibility for where he was. But he made it happen. And it was a huge struggle. And he had such a engaging way of telling stories that we just want to capture that on film. And we want to share that with everyone. We made many recordings of him telling his stories. And we would really like to share that with the world. He sadly passed away about 6 years ago last week. And we miss him greatly. And we really want to continue sharing his stories with the world through a drama series. So that's kind of our dream project. And then along with that, like now our mom is like telling all these stories of her childhood, is kind of bubbling up and, telling us stories about her parents and her parents' parents, whom we've never met before, but we feel like we have because of these stories. Like, it's so incredible. Like, I feel like I know my grandfather, my grandparents, when I've never met them. They've never met me. So that's just the fascination of storytelling, where you connect with people that you've never met. It's pretty brilliant. Yeah.
I can't wait to hear these future stories be told. Thank you so much for taking this time to chat with me. You two are absolutely amazing. Your work is incredible, and there's so much potential for the future. Where can people go to see your work and learn more about yourselves?
Oh, thanks, Ryan. Those are very kind words. Thank you. We have a website, Snow Angel Films. We're in the midst of upgrading it, so
we have to apologize. It's not our forte. Our online presence is not our forte, unfortunately. So, but we do have one of sorts. We're on Facebook and Instagram, and we have a website. But hopefully, we'll revive those a bit more in the upcoming year. Yeah, we'd love to connect. We always love connecting with people and finding collaborators, and we love our city. We have a fondness for Winnipeg and Manitoba. We grew up here, so meeting other creators in this place is something really special to us.
Have any stories you'd like us to share, or communities we should highlight? Leave a comment on our social media or reach out to us on our website. I'm Ryan Funk. This was You Talk, and have yourself a good one.